Freeze! How's it going, everyone? It's Artifact. Today we're going to be making 5 sounds in 5 minutes. Well, actually, that's a bit of a lie. It's probably going to take me about 7 minutes to explain them. Let's get into it. Let's listen to the sounds all the way through. So I hope you enjoyed those. That's it for this tutorial. Bye. No, just kidding. So I made all these sounds using the same... Let me just sort my hair up. I made all of these sounds using the same vital patch and then just like added a few different changes to the movements and the wavetables and things like that. So if we go into the first patch here, which is known as the shuffle star bass, it's a bit lower. So the interesting things about this patch are specifically using the reverb on like an LFO and also a little bit of FM and distortion linear fold mode, which is really great. So let's have a turning off session of the effects. And then, by the way, I hope you guys are doing well. It's Monday stuff. It's quite lame without the effects, isn't it? Maybe we'll put them back on quickly. Chorus, like just to widen things really. I'll explain. I've got two modulation options. So LFO2 is like the main groove. It's doing the duh, 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 duh. It's like this dotted 1/8 thing. And the I'm so good at explaining this thing. LFO3 is like just a slow ramp up, so we can apply some effects that come in like over time. So if we just carry on. The kind of chorus comes in over time as the sound gets held down, and I think it's the same thing with the compressor. It just kind of brings out a bit more life, and it just carries on and goes on like that. Yeah, the actual important thing is we've got this reverb on here, and that's also like coming in and out on the mix with that kind of main rhythmic LFO. And what actually then transforms this sound is we really distort everything after the reverb. And that's how we get this kind of like larger than life sound. So that's kind of the main concept behind this patch. It's like some simple kind of wavetables, some noise, some filtering, a couple of effects, but then we run it through actually quite a hard reverb and LFO this, so it's got some movement to it. And then we like heavily distort it afterwards using, as I said, the linear fold mode, which is really cool. So you can see here, I've just got literally a sine wave here on this time skew mode, and that basically just adds in some extra kind of distorted harmonics, and we LFO that. And similarly here, we just have a saw wave, and it's on this high pass mode. So that actually gives it this kind of like classic sort of filter growl movement. And then when it's FMing from oscillator 2 into that, you know, if I turn the level down on here, kind of just gritty it up a bit more and just kind of blend it together. But I wanted to leave the level up on this. And we also actually LFO the level of this one here, so that's kind of the main noise that you hear, I suppose. But it's yeah, it's coming on and off in the volume as well. So that's like our main bass that we started off with, and then, you know, if I obviously move on to the next one, you can see how I've changed it. You can kind of hear it comes from the same similar like sound source, the sound chili sauce, sound banana chili sauce, plum tea. Are you still watching? I'm just kidding. This one we add in another oscillator, which is just a sine wave, but this time it's like it's pitched down a bit, so we added a little bit more bass into it. And also this level on this one here actually is tracked to this slow ramping, and we actually bring it down, so it starts off with a bit of this extra sine wave harmonic, and then we kind of bring that off as the sound sort of goes out. You can see it sort of comes down in level here. And then the only other thing we've really done is we've just sped up this LFO, and then we've just played like a higher note on the keyboard, so we have more of a lead sound here, and everything else is pretty much the same in terms of the effects. So obviously bass and lead kind of in the same patch. Then we go on to our third one here, which gets a little bit more interesting. So on this one, we actually start to shape the sound a little bit differently. And although we're still using the exact same wavetables, everything is still set up here the same. We just go back to this LFO2 and we slowed things down a lot. And I actually then also tracked the LFO to the basic shapes, so you can see it's kind of cycling through these different waveforms. That's why it's called star shapes. So if we just listen to that one, so that's like really adding this kind of square wave kind of distortion character to this sound by like sort of just cycling through these wavetables with no real plan. Just quite a chaotic LFO, but it kind of just makes it sound really dirty. So yeah, when you kind of couple that with everything else, and then on the effects, I think we've done a couple of changes here. We've introduced this flanger. That sort of just comes in a little bit as well on the slow LFO here. And another little interesting thing we've done is, as the note's held down, we have this little change in pitch, which we've done on this envelope 2 here. And that's simply just by going into the matrix setting here and going to envelope 2, voice transpose, and we just turned it up a little bit, 1.26. And so just at the end of the section here, the pitch just goes up slightly as well. So you can kind of hear that, and that's quite a nice little alteration that you can do. And yeah, apart from that, everything else I think is pretty much the same in the effects. It's just a case that we've really slowed down the LFO for this one. We've used a bit of a lower note on the keyboard again, and we've just started to modulate this whole basic shapes like folder of wavetables to like add into the sound. So then we kind of move on to our next one, which is going to be the reverse version. And all that we've done on this one is we've changed some of the LFOs, you know, in which direction they're moving. So before we had this basic shapes, we had the sort of level of it going one way, and now we've just changed the LFO so it's going the other way. And now we just put a ramp setting on the LFO too, so rather than having a fast or shuffly kind of rhythmic sound, we just have a kind of ramp down sound. And that kind of sounds really quite nice and interesting to me. Again, with the effects, I think these guys are pretty much the same. Yeah, the only difference is something that you can try to sort of create a completely different sound in the same patch is just like reversing the actual effects on the wavetable. For example, this high pass mode, we've changed the direction of it. You know, we've changed it to the other side. And with this level here, we've instead of going from 0 to full, we just go, we bring it up and then we turn it around the other way. And it just kind of creates a completely different sounding effect. So yeah, that's the reverse one. And then we finally go on to our last one. This has definitely been longer than 5 minutes. And again, you can tell we've kind of used the same bass sound, but we've actually just run it through an extra filter here, and we tried to take out a bit of the grittiness of it in some way, using a lot more reverb in the mix here. So I really turned up the mix of the reverb a lot. and then I also added on a delay here, and that just, we get this kind of longer, droned out, reverbed version of the sound. And then when you sort of play it on in the MIDI, you can start to get some sort of nice little melody loop going. Bit of extra H delay for a bit more kind of spatial goodness. And yeah, that's pretty much 5 kind of sounds that you can make in sort of 5 minutes or more. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a good start to your week. Hit me up if you ever want to have one-on-one sessions with me. And also you can join my Patreon if you want to join our squad Zoom hangouts, get feedback on your tracks, and extra tutorials and presets like these also on my Patreon. Have a wicked day, guys.